Have you ever, in the middle of your life, at a moment when you thought you had everything, suddenly asked, "Is this all?" If you have asked this question, you are likely at that critical threshold where the social mask you have meticulously built for years, your persona, has begun to feel too tight for your soul. Today, on Shadow Atlas, we will discover why the midlife crisis is not an end, but a mythical second adolescence and a true opportunity for rebirth. Jung sharply divides the human lifespan into two stages. The first half, the mourning period, is concerned with biological and social goals, building a career, starting a family, and gaining a place in society. In this phase, the persona is our greatest ally. Society expects us to play a role, and we gladly accept it because it is rewarded with applause and status. However, trouble arises when the afternoon of life begins. Jung's most iconic warning is this: we cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. By the time we reach our 40s, biological forces wane. The soul no longer demands expansion, but rather depth and limitation. If an adult continues to chase only the successes of their youth, the soul rebels against this one-sidedness. The midlife crisis is actually a cry for a transition from external success to internal meaning. Why is the collapse of the persona so painful? Jung explains this with a mythical metaphor, the shirt of Nessus. In mythology, this poisoned shirt stuck so tightly to Hercules' skin that trying to remove it was as burning and agonizing as tearing flesh from bone. On a clinical level, the situation is similar. We identify so strongly with our titles, our diplomas, or our roles as ideal parents that when the mask falls, we feel naked as if we are nothing. If we resist this shedding of skin, the mask turns into a zombie persona on our faces. We become trapped in a life that looks alive on the outside, but is decaying from within. This period is a kind of second adolescence. Just like in the first adolescence, identity is questioned. However, this time the dialogue is not with society, but with our own unconscious. One feels lethargic and depressed because the life energy, libido, has been withdrawn from external roles and begun to flow into the dark ocean of the inner world. Jung calls this enantiodromia, the tendency of everything to turn into its opposite. For someone who was extremely rational and disciplined in the first half of life, to turn toward art or spirituality in the second half is not a deviation. It is the soul's effort to balance itself. Jung himself experienced this process in 1913. In that darkness, where he thought he had lost everything, he actually encountered the immortal other within. When the mask shatters, the hero's night sea journey begins. The hero is swallowed by a monster. This is the ego getting lost in the darkness of its own unconscious. Yet, this is not an extinction, but a renovatio, a process of renewal. At the deepest point of the crisis in that dark cave, what we encounter is the true self. The midlife crisis forces us to stop being mere social units and instead become whole human beings, living our own unique stories. This is the mythical moment of rebirth, where the ego hands over its authority to the self. Ultimately, the collapse of the persona is not a catastrophe. It is the soul's cry for freedom. If the shirt has begun to burn you, know that a new skin, a true character, is about to emerge from beneath. As Jung said, the process of individuation is not about being perfect, but about being whole. Real life begins when you stop being the person the world thinks you are. Trust the light seeping through the cracks in your mask.